Bajaj has completely monopolized the passenger three-wheeler segment in India, where it has a 70% market share, with second best Piaggio way behind at just 15%. But why are we always traveling in this nifty green and yellow auto? To find out, I spent close to a week studying Bajaj Auto and the passenger vehicle market in India. And I realized that this seemingly overnight success has been in the making for several decades. Similar to the Tatas, Bajaj is one of those companies that literally built India after independence, as it is one of the first companies that started manufacturing automobiles back then. The Bajaj Group was started by a well-noted industrialist, Jamnalal Bajaj, an entrepreneur with close links to Mahatma Gandhi, who also used to call him his fifth son. But while Bajaj Auto was founded back in 1945, the real story begins when Jamnalal Bajaj's grandson, Rahul Bajaj, took over the company in 1965. At this time, Bajaj Auto was the licensed manufacturer in India for Piaggio, an Italian automobile giant. Piaggio produced a popular two-wheeler called Vespa, and Bajaj sold Vespas for them in the Indian market. After independence, India had zero R&D capability and was not even close to building automobiles without external help. So the norm back then was to import completely knocked down kits, or CKDs. CKD kits were basically ready to assemble spare parts of the final vehicle. Almost all vehicle manufacturers in India, including Bajaj, used to become the sole licensed distributor of foreign brands in India, import these CKD kits, assemble them in India, and then sell them for profits. These scooters were known as Bajaj Vespas, and they quickly became a status symbol and a popular choice for personal transportation in India. And the reason for their popularity was their stylish design, durability, and suitability for Indian roads. All went well for Bajaj and Piaggio for more than a decade, until 1971. At that time, the government decided to implement their own version of the Make in India policy. And that, combined with the license Raj, made it difficult for foreign brands to function in India. So in 1971, Piaggio ended their partnership with Bajaj and left India altogether. But by now, Bajaj had been making scooters for almost a decade, and it did not need a partner anymore. It continued manufacturing its best-selling scooter under the Bajaj brand name. But Rahul Bajaj realized that he could no longer rely on someone else to do the research for them, and he immediately set up an R&D division in his company in 1971, which also resulted in the iconic Bajaj Chetak scooters hitting the road back in 1972. And now, backed by a strong R&D unit, Rahul Bajaj decided to go in a direction that would change the passenger vehicle industry of India forever. While their partnership with Piaggio was still ongoing, one of the products in discussion was a three-wheeler goods carrier. See, cycle rickshaws have been prevalent in India since the 1940s. Which itself was an improvement on hand-pulled rickshaws that came into use in the 1880s. The biggest limitation to cycle rickshaws is that it is obviously pulled by a human, restricting the speed as well as the distance that they can travel. Now, with the advent of automotive engine, the obvious shift was to be from a human-pulled vehicle to an engine-pulled vehicle. And the prime candidate for this was a car in form of a cab or a taxi. However, taxis were never going to be good enough for India for a bunch of reasons. Firstly, cars were large and heavy vehicles that could not navigate Indian roads, as they needed a lot more space to turn than rickshaws. To give you an example, the turning radius of a cycle rickshaw can be as little as 2 meters. But for a car like the Maruti Suzuki Swift Dzire, this number is 4.8 meters. In Indian markets, where often you could not even turn around a cycle, cars were definitely out of the race. Secondly, the operating cost of a car was much higher than rickshaws. Cars had a low fuel efficiency, resulting in a high per kilometer cost, and they were also very costly to service and maintain. Not to mention the heavy investment required to purchase the car as well. This resulted in high or even unaffordable fares for the final passengers. And so cycle rickshaws are replaced by an unconventional candidate: auto rickshaws. These look like the perfect step in passenger vehicle evolution. You remove the manual cycle part in front of the existing rickshaw and replace it with an engine. This should have resulted in the perfect new age passenger vehicle, right? Well, it did not. There were several challenges with this replacement. If you have made it this far, please subscribe to my channel. I promise my content will add value for you. Moving on to the challenges. Firstly, this front engine design messed up with the weight balance of the vehicle. In a traditional car, the weight of the engine in the front is balanced by the weight of the body of the car and the fuel tank at the back. But in an auto rickshaw, the front became significantly heavier. So it was harder to steer and control, especially at higher speeds or during sharp turns, where it could even tip over or topple altogether. Secondly, the front engine placement made cooling less efficient. The engines were typically placed below the driver's seat, unlike cars that have a dedicated engine compartment and a cooling system at the front. And this also reduced the airflow to the engine. And with Indian auto drivers overloading passengers even in the front, additional load could be exerted on the engine. And finally, and most importantly, it was extremely uncomfortable for the driver. See, the driver is the final customer of the auto rickshaw sales cycle. And if the drivers are not happy, you are not going to sell. Having the engine directly beneath the driver's seat meant that his ass was literally always on fire. India is a tropical country with extremely hot days, and it becomes unbearable for a driver to sit literally on burning fuel all day long. So after realizing all these issues, Rahul Bajaj came up with a very simple solution to a very difficult problem. He simply placed the engine at the back instead of the front with their all-new rear engine design model called the Bajaj RE. And just like that, all the problems with auto rickshaws were gone. With the engine placed in the back, the weight was now evenly distributed across the vehicle, with low chances of tipping over. And it also meant that the engine now had much better airflow and cooling. But most importantly, it meant that the drivers no longer had to put their asses on fire. Not only did the driver have more leg space and room in the front, but with the engine in the back, the heat was gone and so was the noise. And the engine at the back also meant that servicing issues took much less time, which may not sound like a big deal to you, but for auto drivers, it meant a lot of saved time that could be instead spent on taking rides and earning money. And just like that, the RE model was poised to become the best auto rickshaw option in the market. And Bajaj itself was poised to dominate this market. Few other automobile companies had more capital than Bajaj that was already riding high on its sales from its two-wheelers. And they already had strong operations backed by their decade-long partnership with Piaggio. But Rahul Bajaj knew that no matter how revolutionary the design was, it would be a failure if 1. It was not durable, and 2. It was not affordable. So Bajaj continued pouring money into the R&D division, which ensured that the three-wheeler segment saw continuous development and improvements to make it more durable. And to make sure that the vehicle was affordable, special focus was paid to improving the efficiency of the entire supply chain process, including practices like improving the fuel economy of the engine, redesigning the braking system, improving the gear housing to maximize efficiency, and substituting imported parts with locally sourced materials. He was extremely focused on cost control. Not even a single rupee could be spent in the company without his permission. But another master stroke in this strategy was the introduction of Bajaj Auto Finance. To make the vehicle more affordable, Bajaj itself started offering loans to people who wanted to buy them. This streamlined the entire process and gave a unique advantage to Bajaj over its competitors. Instead of running from bank to secure a loan and then establishing a link between the bank and the dealership, the customer could now simply get the loan and the vehicle under the same roof. The administration was under the watchful eye of Rahul Bajaj, and non-performing assets, or the number of defaulters, was just 2%. Not only did it help increase the sales, but suddenly Bajaj had another stream of revenue coming in. And eventually, Bajaj Auto Finance itself evolved into a separate multi-crore company which you may now know as Bajaj Finserv. But the innovations were not just limited to the factory floors. Now that this durable, efficient and revolutionary vehicle was ready, it needed to be sold. And Rahul Bajaj realized that the dealership was an integral part of this sales cycle. It was the ultimate place where the customer experienced the product, and the dealer could destroy or create the value of a brand by how he treated the customers. Rahul Bajaj's mission was clear. The end of the sale should be the start of a relationship. Bajaj started conducting dealership conferences to gain the trust of dealers and set the expectations straight. And a strong emphasis was given to providing excellent after-sales support. And all of this gradually set the cycle in motion. Bajaj manufactured reliable vehicles. Their deep and strong distribution network sold them well to customers, and these customers brought in more customers via good feedback. And Bajaj became the most affordable and trusted option in the market. And gradually, Bajaj also started exporting these auto rickshaws all across the world, further strengthening its position as a brand while also filling its bank accounts for even higher growth. Eventually becoming the largest three-wheeler brand in the world, known as a tuk-tuk in Philippines, Thailand and South Africa, a Bajaj in Jakarta, Indonesia, a tok-tok in Egypt and Gaza, and obviously as an auto in India, exporting to over 70 countries all across the world. I hope you like this video. Use the link in the description to follow me on LinkedIn. Until I see you in the next video, goodbye.